The Red Eclipse of 2027 is no ordinary celestial event. To some, it's a moment in history marked by mere astronomical significance, but to others, it represents the fulfillment of an ancient prophecy, a prophecy so deeply entwined with the fate of humanity that its arrival has been anticipated for centuries. The term Red Eclipse evokes images of an ominous, blood-red sky, a celestial omen that holds deep meaning in both historical and esoteric contexts. But what makes the 2027 eclipse so special is its rare alignment and the way it seems to coincide with the resurgence of long-forgotten prophecies. Prophecies guarded by secret societies like the Knights Templar, whose cryptic knowledge has been passed down through generations. In this documentary, we will dive deep into the mystery of the Red Eclipse, tracing its significance back to ancient times and examining the hidden truths that lie beneath its cosmic shadow. We'll explore how the Templars, with their advanced knowledge of astrology, astronomy, and sacred geometry, may have understood the profound implications of such an event centuries before it was ever predicted by modern scientists. Their cryptic symbols, mysterious rituals, and secret manuscripts seem to point toward this very moment in time, suggesting that the Red Eclipse of 2027 is not just a natural event, but a spiritual and metaphysical turning point. But why is the eclipse of 2027 so important? What is it about the timing of this particular celestial alignment that resonates with the ancient prophecies? And how does it fit into the larger tapestry of hidden history, secret societies, and suppressed knowledge? As we unravel the mysteries surrounding this event, we'll uncover long-buried truths that could change everything we know about our past, our present, and perhaps our future. The answers are hidden in the shadows, waiting to be revealed. The Knights Templar are one of the most iconic and enigmatic organizations in history. Founded in the early 12th century, the Templars initially rose to prominence as a military order during the Crusades. Their primary mission was to protect Christian pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land, but what began as a humble religious mission quickly expanded into a powerful and secretive organization with vast wealth, influence, and military might. At their peak, the Templars were one of the most formidable forces in medieval Europe, and their presence could be felt in every corner of Christendom. They built castles, fortresses, and commanderies across Europe and the Levant, and their knights became synonymous with discipline, bravery, and unwavering loyalty. Yet, despite their outwardly noble mission, the Templars were shrouded in mystery from the very beginning. One of the key aspects of the Templars' allure lies in their deep connection to the Holy Grail. The Grail, an object of both legend and religious significance, has fascinated people for centuries. But for the Templars, the Grail was more than just a relic of Christ's Last Supper. It was believed to hold the secret to divine knowledge and power, something that could elevate them above other religious orders and grant them a unique connection to the divine. Some scholars argue that the Templars never sought the Grail as a physical artifact, but rather as a symbol of hidden, sacred knowledge passed down through the ages, a knowledge that could shape the future of the world. This pursuit of hidden knowledge set the Templars apart from other monastic orders. While many religious orders focused on prayer, charity, and asceticism, the Templars were deeply involved in matters of politics, finance, and warfare. Their influence spread far beyond the walls of monasteries and castles. They were intimately connected with the European aristocracy and even played a significant role in the development of banking systems. The Templars were known for their ability to handle large sums of money, and their financial network spanned the length and breadth of Christendom. This wealth, however, was not just accumulated for earthly gain. It was believed that the Templars used it to fund secret missions, uncover hidden truths, and further their quest for the Grail and other sacred artifacts. Despite their success, the Templars' secrecy eventually became their undoing. In the early 14th century, King Philip IV of France, deeply indebted to the Templars, sought to seize their wealth and power. In 1307, He orchestrated a mass arrest of Templar knights, accusing them of heresy, blasphemy, and various other charges. Many believe that this was not only a political move to gain control of their wealth, but also a concerted effort to suppress the Templars' knowledge that might threaten the established order. The trial of the Templars was a dark chapter in history. Under torture, many knights confessed to crimes they may not have committed, and the order was officially disbanded by Pope Clement V in 1312. But the question remains, did the Templars truly vanish, or did they go underground, carrying their secrets with them? Some theorists argue that the Templars' knowledge was far too valuable to be completely extinguished. Instead of being destroyed, their hidden wisdom and ancient teachings may have been passed down in secret, kept alive by those who sought to preserve it. The belief that the Templars went into hiding and continued their work in secrecy is central to many modern-day conspiracy theories. Some claim that the Templars were the true founders of Freemasonry, with their ancient rituals and symbols preserved within the Masonic tradition. Others suggest that the Templars formed covert societies, working behind the scenes to influence world events and keep their ancient knowledge alive. The Templars' association with secret societies is further fueled by their iconography. From the red cross emblazoned on their tunics to their mysterious use of geometric symbols, the Templars left behind a visual legacy that continues to intrigue historians and conspiracy theorists alike. Their symbols, such as the compass and square, the pentagram, and the all-seeing eye, have been adopted by various secretive organizations, most notably the Freemasons, leading to speculation that the Templars' true purpose was never fully understood by the outside world. While the Templars were publicly disbanded in 1312, their influence can still be felt today. The mystique surrounding the order has endured for centuries, and their connection to hidden knowledge, secret societies, and esoteric mysteries remains a source of fascination for many. The idea that they held the key to an ancient and powerful secret is not just a matter of historical interest, but a belief that has persisted through the ages. Were the Templars merely a group of medieval knights caught up in the politics of their time, or are they the keepers of an ancient knowledge, one that transcended the boundaries of their era? As we explore their legacy, we must ask, what secrets did the Templars uncover, and how far did their influence truly reach? Were they the guardians of a powerful truth, waiting for the right moment to reveal it to the world? Could the Red Eclipse in 2027 be the moment when these hidden truths are finally brought to light? The answers lie buried deep within the folds of history, and perhaps in the celestial event that looms on the horizon. For centuries, the legend of the Holy Grail has captivated historians, theologians, and seekers of hidden knowledge. It is one of the most enduring mysteries of Western tradition, an object that is said to hold divine power, secret wisdom, and a promise of eternal life. But the true nature of the Grail has always been elusive, slipping between the lines of myth and history. Was it a physical cup, a sacred relic, or perhaps something far more symbolic, something that has been deliberately obscured by layers of allegory and secrecy? The earliest references to the Grail appear in medieval literature, particularly in the works of writers like Chrétien de Troyes and Wolfram von Eschenbach. In these tales, the Grail is often described as a mystical vessel, sometimes a cup, sometimes a stone, capable of sustaining life or providing enlightenment. But these stories were written centuries after the events of the Crusades, and scholars have long debated whether they reflect actual historical traditions or simply imaginative allegories. The connection between the Grail and the Knights Templar is a subject of intense speculation, especially among those who believe the Templars were the true guardians of this ancient mystery. According to some theories, the Templars discovered the Grail during their time in Jerusalem, where they had access to the sacred sites of Christianity and possibly even older pre-Christian temples hidden beneath the city. Their headquarters on the Temple Mount, once the site of Solomon's Temple, gave them unparalleled access to underground chambers, sealed crypts, and forgotten tunnels. If the Grail, or the knowledge associated with it, was hidden anywhere, this would have been the place to find it. But the Grail is more than just a relic of Christian mythology. For many esoteric traditions, it represents the embodiment of divine knowledge, an ancient truth about the nature of life, the universe, and the human soul. This interpretation suggests that the Grail was never meant to be understood as a physical object, but as a symbol of spiritual awakening. In this view, the Grail is the ultimate secret, a key to understanding the mysteries of creation and humanity's place within it. Some believe that the Templars, through their years in the Holy Land, encountered teachings from older traditions, Jewish mysticism, early Gnosticism, and even remnants of ancient Egyptian wisdom that helped shape their understanding of the Grail. The concept of the Grail as hidden knowledge gained momentum in later centuries, especially as Templar legends spread across Europe. In this interpretation, the Grail symbolizes a bloodline, the descendants of Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene. Popularized by several modern authors and conspiracy theories, this idea suggests that the Templars were not guardians of an artifact, but protectors of a sacred lineage. If true, the implications are profound, challenging the very foundations of Christian history. While there is no definitive evidence for this theory, it continues to fuel speculation and fascination, especially among those who view the Templars as guardians of suppressed truths. But why would the Grail legend be wrapped in such mystery? One possibility is that the Templars themselves encouraged the myth. As an order known for secrecy, the Templars may have used symbols, allegories, and coded messages to protect their knowledge from outsiders. If the Grail represented hidden teachings, it would make sense for them to veil its appearance with stories that only the initiated could decipher. Their rituals, symbols, and architecture often contained deeper meanings that went unnoticed by the untrained eye, suggesting they encoded their wisdom in ways that only a select few could understand. Another possibility is that the Grail myth grew after the Templars' downfall. As the order was destroyed and its members scattered or executed, rumors and legends flourished. People began to believe that the Templars had protected something so valuable that powerful rulers were willing to destroy the entire order to seize it. Whether or not the Grail was real, the perception that the Templars were hiding something immense persisted, giving rise to centuries of speculation, treasure hunts, and historical debates. In the esoteric traditions of Europe, the Grail gradually evolved into a symbol of enlightenment. Alchemists interpreted it as the philosopher's stone, the key to spiritual transformation. Mystics saw it as the receptacle of divine illumination. Occultists believed it to be a portal between worlds, capable of revealing truths hidden from ordinary perception. Each interpretation added new layers to the legend, making the Grail one of the most multifaceted symbols in Western mysticism. But perhaps the most compelling aspect of the Grail legend is the idea that its mystery was never meant to be understood by the masses. Instead, it was reserved for a select few, seekers of truth who were willing to look beyond the surface of myths and examine the deeper meanings encoded within them. The Grail, in this sense, is a test, a challenge to see who is capable of uncovering the truth from among the countless interpretations and illusions. The Grail's connection to prophecy is also significant. Many ancient texts hint that the Grail will reveal itself, or its true meaning, at a time of great transformation. Some scholars believe that this moment of revelation is linked to rare celestial events, such as eclipses, planetary alignments, or cosmic cycles. This idea forms the foundation of the belief that the upcoming Red Eclipse in 2027 may be more than a natural phenomenon. According to certain interpretations of Templar lore, the Grail's secret is tied to a cosmic clock, one that begins and ends with significant astronomical events. If this is true, then the Grail might not be something lost in the past, but something waiting to be revealed in the future. And the Templars, through their prophecies and coded symbols, may have left behind clues pointing to that moment. In the end, the Holy Grail remains an enigma, part myth, part history, part symbol, part hidden truth. Its power lies not in whether it physically exists, but in the profound sense of mystery it evokes. It invites us to question, to explore, and to seek deeper understanding. And as we move closer to the year 2027, the legend of the Grail takes on new meaning, especially as the celestial event associated with Templar prophecy draws near. Was the Grail a cup, a bloodline, a piece of lost technology, or a symbol of divine knowledge? Or was it all of these things at once? Whatever the truth may be, the Grail continues to shape our perceptions of history and the secret forces operating behind scenes. And as we journey further into the Templar mystery, the Grail stands at the center of it all, a beacon of hidden truth waiting to be discovered. The legacy of the Knights Templar is built not only on their military prowess and vast wealth, but also on the enduring belief that they possessed hidden knowledge, mysterious wisdom gathered from ancient cultures, sacred texts, and forbidden sources. This idea has fascinated scholars and mystics for centuries, raising the question, what exactly did the Templars discover during their time in the Holy Land, and why did they go to such lengths to protect it? When the Templars established their headquarters on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, they gained access to a site rich with history. Beneath the surface of this sacred ground lay the ruins of Solomon's Temple, a structure revered not only by Judaism, but by various ancient mystery traditions. Many believe that the Templars excavated deep into the temple ruins, uncovering relics and manuscripts that had been hidden for thousands of years. These discoveries, according to legend, were not ordinary artifacts. They were fragments of ancient knowledge, containing secrets related to the origins of the universe, the true nature of divinity, and powerful rituals that could alter the human mind. The Templars' years in the Holy Land provided them with unparalleled exposure to diverse cultures. They encountered Islamic scholars, Jewish mystics, Eastern philosophers, and remnants of older belief systems that predated Christianity by millennia. It is widely believed that the Templars absorbed elements of these teachings, blending them with their own spiritual practices. This fusion of knowledge may have given birth to a secret doctrine, a hidden philosophy that was never shared with the outside world, but passed down only to the most trusted members of the order. Such a doctrine would explain why the Templars were accused of heresy during their trials. The charges brought against them, worshipping mysterious idols, practicing forbidden rituals, and denying key elements of Christian doctrine, may have been rooted in misunderstandings of their secret practices. But what if these accusations were not entirely fabricated? What if the Templars had indeed uncovered truths that challenged the established beliefs of the medieval church? If so, it would make sense why authorities moved swiftly to suppress the order and seize its secrets. One of the most persistent legends is that the Templars discovered ancient scrolls beneath the Temple Mount. These scrolls may have contained knowledge from older civilizations, including records of lost teachings, star maps, and coded prophecies. Some theorists even suggest that these writings included fragments from the original teachings of Christ, unaltered by later ecclesiastical edits. If the Templars possessed such documents, it would explain their sudden rise in power and the Church's fear that their knowledge could undermine existing religious structures. Beyond sacred texts, there are also claims that the Templars acquired advanced knowledge in architecture, geometry, and astronomy, wisdom that later influenced Gothic cathedrals across Europe. These structures, with their precise alignments, hidden symbols, and intricate designs, may be physical manifestations of the Templars' secret knowledge. The cathedral's architecture often incorporates sacred geometry, celestial alignments, and symbols that resonate with ancient mystery traditions. Some believe that these buildings were encoded with messages meant only for the initiated, those who understood the language of symbols and the deeper truths they concealed. The Templars were also rumored to have guarded artifacts that were believed to possess extraordinary power. While the Holy Grail is the most famous of these, there are stories of other relics. The Ark of the Covenant, pieces of the True Cross, ancient manuscripts, and even objects of unknown origin. Whether these artifacts were physical or symbolic, they formed part of a larger tapestry of hidden knowledge that the Templars sought to protect. Their secrecy was not merely for the sake of ritual. They believed the world was not prepared for the truths they had uncovered. Some modern researchers argue that the Templars' hidden knowledge was not only ancient, but prophetic. They may have possessed understanding of astronomical cycles, celestial events, and cosmic patterns that allowed them to predict significant moments in history. This would tie directly into the idea of the 2027 Red Eclipse being part of a larger prophecy, one that the Templars encoded in their symbols and teachings. If the Templars understood the significance of eclipses and celestial alignments, they may have left behind clues pointing to the future, waiting for those with the right knowledge to decipher them. The concept of hidden knowledge is also tied to the idea that the Templars had connections to older mystery schools, those rooted in ancient Egypt, Greece, and the Middle East. These schools taught that the universe operated according to sacred laws, and that those who understood these laws could harness great power. If the Templars gained access to these teachings, they would have been seen not only as spiritual warriors, but as initiates of a far older tradition. This would explain the layers of secrecy that surrounded their order, as well as the Church's desire to suppress their knowledge. The Templars' legacy continues to inspire modern esoteric societies, many of which claim to preserve fragments of their hidden teachings. Whether or not these groups are direct descendants of the original order, they testify to the enduring belief that the Templars were guardians of forbidden wisdom. Their symbols, rituals, and philosophies are echoed in Freemasonry, Rosicrucianism, and various occult traditions. This continuity suggests that the Templars' hidden knowledge did not disappear with their dissolution, but instead became part of a long lineage of secret teachings passed down through the centuries. In the end, the true nature of the Templars' hidden knowledge remains a mystery. What did they discover beneath the Temple Mount? What secrets did their scrolls contain? What truths were so dangerous that kings and popes conspired to erase them from history? As we move deeper into the narrative of the Templar prophecy and the coming Red Eclipse, we must consider that their hidden knowledge may hold the key to understanding the events of 2027. Perhaps the Templars were preparing for a moment far in the future, a moment when their secrets would finally be revealed to the world, whether the world is ready or not. The downfall of the Knights Templar in the early 14th century remains one of the most dramatic and controversial events in European history. It was not merely a military defeat or a financial collapse. It was a calculated and systematic destruction of an order that had amassed vast wealth, power, and influence. The Templars' fall was orchestrated by one of the most powerful monarchs of the time, King Philip IV of France, who was deeply indebted to the order and saw their wealth as a means to solve his financial problems. But the Templars' destruction was not only driven by greed. It was fueled by a more insidious fear, the fear that the knowledge and secrets they protected could destabilize the established order of the time. In October 1307, King Philip IV, known as Philip the Fair, issued orders for the arrest of all Templar knights in France. The charges were severe and wide-ranging: heresy, blasphemy, idolatry, and the practice of secret and corrupt rituals. Many of the Templars were tortured into confessions, some of which were likely fabricated under duress. The accusations included claims that the knights had renounced Christ, worshipped idols, and engaged in sexual perversion, all of which painted the order as a dangerous threat to the very foundations of Christianity. The charges were so grave that the Pope, Clement V, was forced to act and, in 1312, officially dissolved the Templar order. But what were the true reasons behind this unprecedented betrayal? On the surface, it was a matter of power and money. The Templars had accumulated vast riches through their banking system, their landholdings, and their influence across Europe. They were essentially a state within a state, operating with their own laws, privileges, and resources. To King Philip IV, this power represented a direct challenge to his authority and a threat to his ability to control the wealth of France. By accusing the Templars of heresy and dismantling their order, Philip was able to seize their wealth and lands, which greatly alleviated his financial difficulties. However, the story is far more complex than a simple political power struggle. Many historians believe that the charges against the Templars were a smokescreen to cover up a more significant reason for their downfall: their possession of dangerous knowledge. Some theorists argue that the Templars had uncovered truths during their time in the Holy Land, truths that challenged the established teachings of the Church and could potentially unravel centuries of religious doctrine. These secrets, whether related to the Holy Grail, ancient manuscripts, or hidden teachings of Christianity, would have been seen as a threat by both the Church and the political powers of the time. The Templars were not just warriors or bankers. They were believed by some to be guardians of hidden knowledge, protectors of secrets that had been passed down through the ages. Some of these secrets were thought to be of great spiritual significance, capable of shaking the foundations of religious authority. The idea that the Templars were privy to ancient, esoteric teachings about the nature of Christ, the origins of the universe, or the true role of humanity in the cosmos was not a mere fantasy. In fact, this notion has persisted for centuries, especially within the realm of alternative history and esoteric traditions. The suppression of the Templars was not just about dismantling a powerful military order. It was about erasing a potentially dangerous source of knowledge. When the order was disbanded, many of the Templars' texts, relics, and artifacts disappeared, and their influence was wiped from the public record. Some historians believe that the Templars' sacred knowledge was deliberately concealed, either hidden by surviving members or destroyed outright by those who feared its implications. The sudden disappearance of Templar records only fueled speculation about what they had uncovered and why such efforts were made to ensure that their secrets never saw the light of day. In the wake of the Templars' disbandment, their legacy was erased from official history. The Church, which had long been wary of the Templars' growing influence, sought to vilify them, painting the Knights as heretics and criminals. Their names were blackened, their temples and strongholds dismantled or repurposed, and their teachings silenced. But for some, the Templar story did not end with their official dissolution. Instead, it was believed that the order went underground, taking their secrets with them and passing them down through generations. One theory suggests that many surviving Templars went into hiding and formed secret societies to preserve their knowledge. Some believe that the Freemasons are the modern-day heirs to the Templar tradition, carrying forward the symbols, rituals, and teachings of the original order. Others speculate that the Templars may have fled to other parts of the world, including Scotland, Portugal, and even the New World, where they continued their mission in secrecy. The idea that the Templars lived on in the shadows, keeping their knowledge hidden from the world, has inspired numerous conspiracy theories over the centuries. The notion of Templar secrets being preserved by a clandestine network of societies is central to many modern theories about their continued influence. Freemasonry, in particular, has been linked to the Templars due to the striking similarities between their symbols, rituals, and organizational structures. The use of the square and compass, the all-seeing eye, and the Templar cross have all been cited as evidence of a direct link between the medieval order and modern secret societies. Whether or not these connections are factual or merely coincidental remains a subject of debate, but the idea that the Templars' legacy continues to shape our world is deeply entrenched in popular culture. The erasure of the Templars from history was not just a matter of political expediency. It was an attempt to silence the very idea that there were truths beyond the reach of the Church and the established powers. If the Templars had indeed uncovered knowledge that threatened the religious and political order, then their destruction was part of a larger strategy to maintain control over what the public could know and believe. The idea that the Templars held a forbidden truth, one that could change the way we view history, religion, and the universe, is a powerful concept that continues to captivate the imagination of those who seek hidden knowledge. In the centuries since their fall, the Templars have remained a symbol of secrecy, rebellion, and the pursuit of forbidden wisdom. Their legacy lives on, not just in the history books, but in the countless theories and myths that continue to surround them. The Red Eclipse of 2027, a celestial event tied to ancient prophecies, may be the moment when the Templars' secrets, long buried and suppressed, are finally brought to light. Whether the eclipse marks the revelation of hidden truths or serves as a reminder of the power of secrecy, it will undoubtedly continue the Templar story in ways that could forever alter our understanding of history. The idea that the Knights Templar were not only guardians of hidden knowledge, but also custodians of prophetic wisdom has intrigued scholars, mystics, and conspiracy theorists alike for centuries. If we accept the premise that the Templars discovered ancient truths and secret teachings during their time in the Holy Land, it stands to reason that they may have encoded these revelations and prophecies, hidden messages about the future. Throughout history, the Templars have been associated with a variety of mysterious symbols and cryptic writings, and many believe these hold the key to understanding a grand, cosmic plan that stretches far beyond the medieval period. As we approach significant celestial events, such as the Red Eclipse of 2027, some have wondered whether the Templars foresaw these moments and left us clues about what to expect. One of the most intriguing aspects of Templar prophecy is its connection to astrology and celestial events. The Templars were known to have an in-depth understanding of astronomy, and many of their cathedrals and temples are believed to be aligned with specific cosmic phenomena, such as solstices, equinoxes, and lunar cycles. Some scholars argue that these alignments were more than just architectural marvels. They were intentional markers that reflected the Templars' belief in a cosmic order, one that was governed by astronomical events and celestial cycles. This suggests that the Templars may have had a deep understanding of the cycles of time, the rise and fall of civilizations, and the hidden forces that govern human history. The Red Eclipse of 2027 is often cited as a key moment in these prophecies, especially among those who believe that the Templars were aware of specific astrological events that would mark pivotal turning points in history. Eclipses have long been seen as powerful omens, representing moments of transformation, revelation, or even judgment. For centuries, celestial eclipses have been used by various cultures to predict significant events, from the rise and fall of empires to the coming of messianic figures. The Templars, with their esoteric knowledge, may have understood the significance of these events and left behind clues pointing to their ultimate meaning. Some researchers believe that the Templars encoded their prophecies in symbolic form, using cryptic messages, allegories, and coded rituals that only the initiated could decipher. This hidden language, passed down through secret societies and occult traditions, is thought to contain predictions about future events. One of the most popular theories is that the Templars predicted a time when the secrets they guarded would be revealed to the world. This revelation, according to some, could occur during the Red Eclipse of 2027, a rare celestial event that could signify the unfolding of ancient prophecies and the exposure of hidden truths. The idea that the Templars foresaw the Red Eclipse of 2027 is based on several factors, including their knowledge of astrology and their understanding of cyclical time. Some believe that the Templars saw the eclipse as a marker for the end of an era, signaling a time of global transformation or spiritual awakening. The eclipse, in this context, is not just an astronomical event, but a moment of cosmic alignment, a moment when the veil between the known and the unknown will be lifted, revealing hidden truths about the universe, humanity, and our place in the grand design of existence. There are also those who believe that the Templars were connected to earlier prophetic traditions, including the mysticism of the ancient Egyptians, Sumerians, and other lost civilizations. These cultures, with their advanced knowledge of astronomy, often linked celestial events to prophecies about the future of humankind. Some theorists argue that the Templars were the inheritors of this ancient wisdom, and that their prophecies were not just about the immediate future, but about the broader cycles of time that govern all of existence. In this view, the Templars' knowledge was not limited to the events of their own time, but spanned millennia, reaching into the distant future and pointing to a time of reckoning, revelation, or renewal. As with all prophecies, the exact nature of the Templar predictions remains elusive. There are no concrete records or manuscripts that explicitly state what the Templars foresaw. Instead, their prophecies are thought to be hidden in plain sight, encoded in their rituals, symbols, and architectural designs. For example, the intricate carvings and stained glass windows in many Gothic cathedrals contain symbols that some believe are related to Templar prophecies. These symbols, which often include references to the sun, the moon, and the stars, are seen by some as markers of celestial cycles and omens of future events. One of the most significant symbols associated with Templar prophecy is the mysterious Wheel of Fortune, or Wheel of the Year. This symbol, found in many Templar manuscripts and rituals, represents the cyclical nature of time, an endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Some believe that the Templars used this symbol to convey the idea that history moves in cycles, and that certain events are destined to repeat themselves. The Red Eclipse of 2027, in this context, could represent a pivotal moment in this cycle, an event that marks the end of one era and the beginning of another. This idea aligns with certain esoteric traditions that believe humanity is on the cusp of a great awakening or spiritual transformation, one that will coincide with major shifts in consciousness. The notion of prophecy is also closely tied to the idea of a revealing or awakening that is said to occur at specific points in history. In many prophetic traditions, there is the belief that a time will come when hidden knowledge will be disclosed to the world, bringing with it a new understanding of reality. For the Templars, this could mean the eventual disclosure of the secrets they guarded, secrets related to the true nature of the Grail, the hidden bloodlines of Jesus and Mary Magdalene, or the ancient wisdom they discovered during their time in Jerusalem. This revelation could be triggered by a celestial event like the Red Eclipse, which is seen as a cosmic signal that the time for revelation has arrived. In the modern era, the Templar prophecies have taken on a new significance, especially as we approach the year 2027. The idea that the Templars left behind clues to a future event is a powerful narrative that continues to inspire interest and speculation. Whether or not the Red Eclipse holds any real prophetic significance remains to be seen, but the fact that it coincides with the upcoming 2027 event has given rise to renewed interest in the Templars' legacy and their connection to the hidden truths of the universe. The prophecies of the Templars, if they exist, remind us that the past is not simply a series of events that have already unfolded, but a map, a guide to understanding the future. The Templars believed that history, like the stars, moved in cycles, and that certain moments in time were destined to stand out as key turning points. As the Red Eclipse of 2027 draws closer, the question arises, could this be the moment that the Templars predicted, the moment when their long-held secrets are revealed to the world? Only time will tell. But the journey to uncover these hidden messages from the past will continue to captivate those who seek the truth, and the Templars' legacy will remain at the heart of this ongoing quest for knowledge. The idea that the Knights Templar may have deliberately encoded astronomical knowledge, and more specifically, eclipse cycles, into their architecture, symbols, and hidden manuscripts is a theory that has captured the imagination of historians and esoteric researchers alike. To understand why this idea persists, one must look beyond the traditional narrative of medieval warfare and banking and instead explore a dimension of Templar activity that is rarely discussed in mainstream history. This is the dimension of sacred science, the blending of astronomy, numerology, geometry, and spiritual cosmology that the Templars are believed to have inherited from ancient cultures. Within this hidden tradition, eclipses were not merely natural events. They were cosmic markers, signposts pointing to profound shifts in human consciousness and historical direction. If the Templars recorded such events, they may have done so with the intent of guiding future generations toward an awakening that would occur only when humanity was ready to understand it. The theory begins with the idea that the Templars gained access to ancient knowledge during their excavations beneath the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. According to various accounts, both historical and legendary, the 9 founding knights spent years tunneling through chambers and forgotten passageways beneath the sacred site. While their official purpose was to protect pilgrims, their secretive behavior and the unusual speed with which they grew in wealth and influence strongly suggest they were searching for something far more valuable than gold. Some believe they uncovered scrolls and artifacts from earlier civilizations, Jewish, Egyptian, even Sumerian in origin, many of which contained astronomical data and cyclical calendars tied to eclipses, conjunctions, and planetary movements. If such materials were indeed found, it is not unreasonable to assume that the Templars would have studied them deeply, preserving their insights in coded ways. One of the strongest pieces of circumstantial evidence pointing toward Templar astronomical knowledge is found in Gothic architecture. The sudden emergence of Gothic cathedrals across Europe, many of them funded, protected, or supported by the Templars, has long puzzled historians. These structures were not only architectural marvels, but also complex astronomical instruments. Their orientation towards solstices, equinoxes, and specific star positions, their rose windows depicting cosmic cycles, and their use of sacred geometry suggest a powerful underlying knowledge of the heavens. Some cathedrals feature alignments that highlight specific lunar or solar positions at certain moments in time, as if designed to mark important future celestial events. Researchers have noted that several Templar-linked churches align with lunar standstill points, rare cycles that repeat every 18.6 years, indicating a level of astronomical precision well beyond what most medieval builders would typically employ. If the Templars were encoding solar-lunar cycles into their architecture, then the possibility that they also encoded eclipse cycles becomes more plausible. Eclipses follow patterns, particularly the Saros cycle, which repeats approximately every 18 years. Some scholars propose that the Templars, through their exposure to ancient astronomical traditions, would have been aware of these cycles. They may have understood that certain eclipses, especially total lunar eclipses known as blood moons, were historically associated with upheaval, transformation, or revelation. In this context, the Red Eclipse of 2027 could represent a culmination of cycles the Templars believed were essential to understanding humanity's spiritual progression. There are also intriguing symbols found in Templar manuscripts and carvings that some researchers believe reference eclipses directly. Examples include depictions of the sun and moon merging, concentric circles divided by crossing lines, and stylized shadow discs that bear striking resemblance to medieval eclipse diagrams. While mainstream historians often dismiss these symbols as artistic flourishes or generic religious motifs, alternative interpretations suggest that they encode astronomical events. The Templars, aware of the dangers of openly sharing esoteric knowledge in an era dominated by rigid religious dogma, may have chosen to hide such information within seemingly benign imagery. Another area of evidence lies in Templar numerology. Certain numbers that recur in Templar lore, such as 3, 9, 33, and 72, are deeply connected to astronomical cycles. The number 72, for instance, is tied to the precession of the equinoxes, a grand celestial cycle known to ancient civilizations and often associated with prophetic world ages. Some believe the Templars incorporated these numerical symbols into their rituals and architecture to preserve this knowledge without attracting unwanted attention. If the Templars viewed history in terms of cosmic cycles, they might have also considered certain eclipses as markers for transitions between ages. A rare eclipse like the one predicted in 2027 could thus have been seen as a threshold moment, a point where hidden truths would surface and dormant knowledge would return to light. The idea that the Templars encoded eclipse knowledge becomes even more compelling when considering their rumored connections to Eastern mysticism. During their time in the Holy Land, the Templars interacted with scholars, astronomers, and mystics from various cultures, including Islamic, Jewish, and Persian traditions. Many of these cultures possessed advanced astronomical knowledge and maintained records of eclipse cycles stretching back millennia. The Templars were known to respect these scholars and to learn from them, adopting elements of their philosophies into their own evolving worldview. If the Templars synthesized this knowledge with what they uncovered beneath the Temple Mount, they could have developed a complex understanding of celestial prophecy, one that extended far into the future. Some modern researchers claim that certain Templar documents mention a darkening of the twin lights, occurring in a future age when a world stands at crossroads. Though cryptic and heavily debated, such phrasing could refer to an eclipse, especially one perceived as unusually significant. The possibility that these texts allude to a specific future event remains speculative. Yet the recurring emphasis on celestial signs in Templar symbology suggests that astronomical events were integral to their worldview. As the Red Eclipse of 2027 draws near, the idea that the Templars predicted or encoded this event gains renewed attention. Whether the eclipse is truly a trigger for prophecy or simply a symbol adopted by later interpreters, its alignment with Templar lore raises provocative questions. Was this event seen as a marker for a shift in consciousness, a change in global power structures, or a spiritual awakening? Did the Templars believe that humanity would one day decode their symbols and recognize the significance of this celestial moment? Or did they intend their knowledge to remain hidden until the world reached a level of awareness capable of understanding it? The truth remains elusive, hidden like so many of the Templars' secrets. But the possibility that they recorded eclipse cycles, not just as scientific data, but as prophetic markers, opens a door into a deeper and more mysterious side of their legacy. If the Red Eclipse truly represents a point of awakening or revelation in the great cosmic cycle, then perhaps the Templars knew something that their persecutors could never comprehend, a truth written not in books, but in the stars themselves. The idea that the Red Eclipse of 2027 is directly connected to ancient celestial alignments traced back to the Crusades may sound far-fetched on the surface, yet when examined through the lens of esoteric history, it becomes far more intriguing. Throughout the medieval world, significant battles, coronations, and religious transitions were closely associated with astronomical events. Kings often consulted astrologers before engaging in war. Popes paid attention to eclipses as omens, and ancient cultures believed that celestial alignments marked moments when spiritual forces intervened in human affairs. Within this context, the Templars stood uniquely positioned, a military order with deep mystical inclinations, stationed in lands rich with ancient wisdom and exposed to traditions far older than Christianity itself. When these knights returned from the East, they carried with them not only treasure, but knowledge. Knowledge that may have included sophisticated celestial charts and prophetic calculations pointing toward future alignments, including those of 2027. To understand the connection between the Templars, ancient alignments, and the Red Eclipse, one must first appreciate what the Crusades represented beyond their political and religious dimensions. The Crusades were a collision of civilizations. East met West, Christian met Islamic, European met ancient. In Jerusalem, the Templars were surrounded by scholars of mathematics, astronomy, mysticism, and architecture. They encountered Jewish Kabbalists who mapped the structure of the cosmos through sacred geometry, Muslim astronomers who possessed charts predicting lunar cycles and planetary conjunctions, and Eastern mystics who interpreted the heavens as a living language of the divine. These encounters did not leave the Templars unchanged. Instead, they influenced the development of a hybrid spiritual, scientific worldview that blended Christian eschatology with ancient cosmic wisdom. One of the most compelling theories is that the Templars discovered documents tracing astronomical alignments far into the future. Such documents may have originated from earlier civilizations, Babylonian eclipse tablets, Egyptian stellar alignments tied to temple construction, or Hebrew prophetic texts linking celestial phenomena to spiritual turning points. What makes this theory especially intriguing is that many ancient eclipse predictions were surprisingly accurate. Civilizations thousands of years before the Templars could calculate eclipse cycles with precision. If the Templars uncovered this knowledge beneath the Temple Mount or received it through scholars in the Holy Land, they would have had the foundation to calculate long-term cycles, including the series leading to the 2027 Red Eclipse. The question then becomes, why would the Templars care about a future celestial event? The answer lies in their symbolic worldview. For the Templars, the cosmos was not simply a physical realm, but a sacred clock. Eclipses, conjunctions, and alignments were markers of divine intention, moments when the veil between the earthly and the spiritual thinned. During the Crusades, several major eclipses occurred, and chroniclers often linked them to shifts in power, losses, victories, and sacred visions. Over time, these associations strengthened a belief that eclipses were catalysts for historical transformation. If the Templars saw patterns repeating over long cycles, they may have believed they were deciphering a prophetic code embedded in the movements of the heavens. One key alignment that researchers often reference is the cycle of triple conjunctions, where Jupiter and Saturn align in ways that mark the beginning of new eras. Medieval astrologers interpreted these conjunctions as signs of monumental political and spiritual change. Remarkably, the upcoming cycles near 2027 mirror certain alignments recorded during pivotal moments of the Crusades. Some esoteric scholars argue that the celestial patterns from the period of the First Crusade are repeating, a symbolic echo that ties the past to the future. If the Templars recognized these patterns, they may have predicted that future generations would one day face a moment of profound change marked by a significant eclipse. Another alignment linked to Templar prophecy involves the lunar nodes, points associated with eclipses. Ancient astronomers referred to these nodes as the dragon's head and dragon's tail, symbols of cosmic forces that bring endings and beginnings. The 2027 Red Eclipse occurs at a node position believed by some esoteric traditions to signify the unveiling of hidden truths. Given the Templars' fascination with symbolism, it is possible they believed such a moment would trigger revelations about sacred knowledge, lost history, or humanity's spiritual evolution. Whether they saw this as a moment of redemption or upheaval remains a matter of interpretation. But what is clear is that the alignment would have been considered significant. The architectural alignments of Templar-influenced sites also contribute to this mystery. Some chapels and commanderies are aligned with the rising or setting of the moon during specific eclipse seasons. While mainstream historians attribute these alignments to aesthetic or practical considerations, alternative researchers believe they indicate a deeper purpose. If these structures were designed as markers for future celestial events, they may function like giant stone timepieces, activated not yearly, but once in centuries when the heavens return to specific positions. The Red Eclipse of 2027 appears to coincide with several of these alignments, which has led some to speculate that the Templars engineered certain sites to signal the approach of this moment. There are also manuscripts and carvings found within Templar sites that depict celestial bodies arranged in ways that resemble modern astronomical charts. Spirals, intersecting lines, and radiant discs appear repeatedly, and some match eclipse diagrams found in Arabic and Jewish texts of the medieval period. It is possible that these were not merely decorative but coded references to celestial patterns the Templars believed would culminate in distant future events. If they thought these patterns would one day unlock forgotten truths or herald the rebirth of knowledge lost during their persecution, they may have chosen to conceal these predictions within symbols that only future initiates could interpret. Perhaps the most fascinating aspect of this theory is how it reframes the Templars' mission. Instead of viewing them merely as soldiers or bankers, we begin to see them as guardians of a cosmic timetable, a lineage of watchers who believed they were part of a grand, multi-generational process. Their downfall in 1307 then may not have extinguished their mission, but simply forced it underground into secret societies and hidden networks. These groups, inheriting fragments of Templar knowledge, may have preserved the idea that a future celestial event would reopen a lost chapter of history. For some modern esoteric circles, the Red Eclipse of 2027 is precisely that moment. As the date approaches, the alignment becomes a focal point not only for historians, but for those who believe that eclipses serve as gateways. Moments when suppressed knowledge resurfaces, when myths become revelations, and when the past whispers guidance to the present. Whether the Templars foresaw this event or whether modern interpreters have connected the dots through symbolic resonance, the significance remains captivating. The Red Eclipse stands as a threshold moment, a convergence of ancient knowledge and modern anticipation, rooted in a legacy that began centuries ago in the deserts of Jerusalem and continues to echo through time. Throughout history, there have been whispers of a secretive Templar manuscript that never appeared in official inventories, never surfaced during inquisitorial seizures, and was never mentioned in public trial records. It is referred to in esoteric circles as the Crimson Codex, a name that hints at blood, secrecy, and celestial symbolism. Some claim it was written in the final decades before the Order's fall, as tensions grew between the Templars and the French crown. Others believe its origins stretch back to their earliest years in Jerusalem, compiled from ancient scrolls allegedly recovered beneath the Temple Mount. Whatever its origin, the Codex has remained shrouded in mystery, its existence confirmed only through fragmented references, cryptic footnotes, and oral traditions passed quietly across the centuries. Now, as the world approaches the Red Eclipse of 2027, interest in this lost text has surged, with many believing it contains warnings or revelations, timed specifically for our era. The idea of a missing Templar document may sound speculative, but secret manuscripts were a recurring feature of medieval religious orders. Monastic groups often maintained private codices, copied in limited numbers and shown only to trusted initiates. The Templars, with their reputation for secrecy and their exposure to wide traditions of mystical knowledge, would have been no exception. Chroniclers of the Middle Ages noted that the Templars possessed hidden writings not accessible to the public, containing interpretations of scripture, encoded rituals, and cosmological diagrams. Several surviving inventories of confiscated Templar property include vague references to books of signs and scrolls of the heavens, phrases that suggest material beyond ordinary theological texts. These references, when placed alongside stories told by later esoteric societies, create a compelling foundation for the hypothesis that a hidden manuscript once existed. What made the Crimson Codex particularly unique, according to legends, was its focus on celestial patterns and prophetic cycles. Rather than being a purely theological work, it allegedly blended astronomy with esoteric interpretation. In some accounts, the manuscript contained charts of eclipses, lunar phases, and planetary alignments traced forward centuries into the future. Medieval illustrations were often symbolic rather than literal, so if the codex depicted eclipses, it likely used layered symbols. Rings within rings, suns devoured by shadow creatures, or moons marked with crimson strokes. Several such symbols appear in surviving Templar art, such as the carvings at Royston Cave and the fresco fragments at certain commanderies. While mainstream historians interpret these symbols as decorative motifs, alternative researchers believe they may be fragments of a vanished system, the visual language of the codex. According to some esoteric traditions, the Crimson Codex also included prophecies concerning an age of shadow and revelation, a phrase that appears across multiple medieval mystical sources. This phrase gained attention because of its dual meaning. Shadow suggests darkness, concealment, and the literal dimming of the sun or moon during an eclipse. Revelation implies unveiling and awakening. The combination suggests a celestial event that temporarily shrouds the world in darkness, but simultaneously marks the beginning of a greater cycle of knowledge. Supporters of this theory argue that the Templars saw eclipses as not merely astronomical, but symbolic thresholds. They represented moments when the divine order aligned with earthly affairs, prompting shifts in power or consciousness. If the Codex did indeed contain predictions, the Red Eclipse of 2027 may have been among its calculated milestones. One of the most intriguing elements said to be described in the Codex is the sign of the red veil, a poetic term that appears in a handful of later alchemical manuscripts believed to be influenced by Templar writings. These texts describe a lunar event in which the moon appears as if covered by a veil of blood, accompanied by an energy shift detectable by those attuned to the sacred geometry of the heavens. Some historians claim this is a metaphor for spiritual rebirth, but others argue it refers literally to a blood-red eclipse. If so, then the event of 2027 becomes more than a coincidence. It becomes a predicted moment, a marker of the culmination of hidden cycles preserved by the Templars. The Codex also supposedly described a future generation that would rediscover lost knowledge through symbols left scattered across Europe. These symbols, according to legend, were intentionally fragmented to protect the deeper meaning. Templar mason marks, church floor labyrinths, stained glass patterns, and even architectural alignments were said to contain pieces of a coded message. Only when the proper celestial alignment occurred, or when humanity reached a certain level of awareness, would the meaning begin to reveal itself. Some modern researchers believe that digital technology, global communication, and renewed interest in esoteric traditions have finally created the conditions the Templars anticipated. Under this interpretation, the Red Eclipse acts as a cosmic activation point, not in a supernatural sense, but as a symbolic moment that encourages humanity to re-examine forgotten truths. Another part of the Codex's lore involved a mysterious figure known simply as the Watcher of the East. Described in poetic, almost mythic language, this figure was said to guard a secret related to cycles of time. Whether the Watcher was a real person, a scholar, knight, or mystic, or an archetypal symbol remains unclear. Yet the description often associates this figure with lunar and solar calculations. Some stories even suggest the Watcher preserved a key or device used to interpret the Codex's diagrams, something akin to an ancient astronomical instrument. If such an artifact existed, it was lost or hidden long before the Templars' downfall, perhaps entrusted to another group or concealed within a symbolic location. The idea of a missing key adds a layer of tantalizing mystery. Even if the manuscript were discovered today, humanity might still require the Watcher's forgotten knowledge to fully interpret it. Of course, not all references to the Codex appear in mystical traditions. A few historical anomalies have drawn scholarly interest. For example, a 14th century inquisitorial record from Aragon mentions a confiscated book of celestial signs that was mysteriously never entered into inventory. A letter written centuries later by a member of a Rosicrucian circle references a Templar moon book lost during the persecutions. A French historian in the 1800s described an unverified sighting of a Templar manuscript of eclipses locked in a private archive. None of these accounts provide proof, yet the repeated appearance of eclipse-related documents in Templar-associated lore is difficult to ignore. In the absence of the manuscript itself, researchers have attempted to reconstruct its possible contents based on scattered clues. They point to Templar fascination with the number 33, the degree of lunar inclination, and an important numerological value in esoteric traditions. They study the layout of Templar commanderies that align with specific lunar rise points. They re-examine surviving Templar seals, noting how the sun and moon appear together on certain designs, often with unusual markings. Each piece contributes to the hypothesis that the Templars were deeply invested in celestial cycles and may have preserved this knowledge in a text meant only for select initiates. Ultimately, the mystery of the Crimson Codex remains unsolved. Whether it was a real manuscript lost to time, a symbolic idea representing the Templars' hidden wisdom, or a later invention inspired by fragments of truth, its legend persists because it fills a gap, a void left behind by the sudden destruction of a powerful and secretive order. If the Codex did exist, its disappearance fits the pattern of suppression that accompanied the Templars' downfall. And if it contained warnings or insights about future celestial events, then the approaching Red Eclipse becomes even more compelling. As the world stands on the threshold of 2027, many wonder whether the Codex's prophecy, whether literal, symbolic, or imagined, is nearing its moment of relevance. If the manuscript was real, it may never resurface. But if its ideas were scattered intentionally across symbols, traditions, and architecture, then perhaps the prophecy it carried has already begun to unfold, waiting only for modern eyes to recognize the patterns that the Templars once guarded so fiercely. The desert wind of history begins to shift as we move deeper into the unfolding mystery, carrying us from medieval legends into an era of celestial omens, forgotten astronomers, and clandestine warnings whispered across centuries. Here, the narrative slows deliberately, letting the audience sink into the texture of a world where prophecy was not merely a curiosity, but a coded language used by monks, knights, and hidden scholars to communicate knowledge too dangerous to reveal openly. The stage widens to encompass a medieval Europe obsessed with signs from the heavens, where eclipses were read like divine manuscripts, and secret orders guarded their interpretations as fiercely as they guarded relics. This section explores how various medieval traditions viewed eclipses not as scientific phenomena, but as messages, sometimes warnings, sometimes calls to action. Chronicles from monastic scriptoria describe skies darkening in unnatural ways, prompting fears of famine, plague, or war. For the Templars, however, eclipses served a different purpose. They were believed to be celestial markers, encrypted signposts pointing to events that aligned with their long-term esoteric calendar. These men were more than warriors. They were scholars of the heavens, inheritors of Arab astronomical knowledge gathered during the Crusades, blending it with older Judeo-Christian apocalyptic frameworks. The Red Eclipse, in particular, was seen not merely as darkness or shadow, but as a shifting veil through which hidden truths could be read. It is here that the narrative introduces the notion of secret astronomical observatories operated by various orders: Templars, Cistercians, and later Rosicrucians, each using their own methods to watch the sky. Some accounts describe underground observatories in southern France, carved into limestone hills, with narrow shafts designed to capture moonlight during specific celestial alignments. Others refer to encoded manuscripts that mapped not only the positions of stars, but also the dates on which eclipses were believed to activate dormant prophecies. Many of these manuscripts remain fragmented or partially erased, as later church authorities deemed them heretical or dangerously speculative. Yet fragments survived, marginalia scribbled by unknown hands, references buried in inquisitorial reports, odd alignments noted in pilgrimage records. Slowly, a pattern emerges, one built around cycles of blood moons, solar occlusions, and a mysterious interval of red shadow, a term that appears in both Latin and Arabic astronomical texts but is never fully explained. Scholars of esoteric history suggest that this interval may have referred to a rare subset of eclipses where atmospheric conditions turn the moon a deep crimson for an unusual length of time. Medieval observers took such events as unmistakable signs of transformation, upheaval, or the return of something long concealed. As the section progresses, the tone becomes more immersive, guiding the audience into candlelit chambers where hooded figures pore over star charts, recalibrating calculations lost during the fall of Jerusalem. You can almost hear the scratching of quills and the crackling of parchment as monks debate whether an eclipse's reddish hue indicated divine judgment or the unlocking of a celestial gate. This was not superstition in their eyes. This was a coded system inherited from older traditions, Babylonian, Persian, Egyptian, layered with Christian mysticism and Templar pragmatism. The section also introduces examples from mainstream history for contrast. Royal courts often summoned astronomers before major military campaigns or coronations. Chronicles from England, Byzantium, and the Islamic world show a deep fascination with eclipses, each culture interpreting them through its own symbolic language. But while kings and clergy feared them, secret societies documented them with precision, believing these events aligned with shifts in power that could be predicted, not feared. Gradually, the narrative returns to the central theme, the Red Eclipse prophecy and its connection to a timeline that stretches beyond the medieval world and toward 2027. This section lays the philosophical foundation for the prophecy's significance, showing how celestial events became woven into Templar lore. Nothing explicit is revealed yet. That tension is saved for later, but the groundwork is set. The audience knows that something lies hidden within the cycles of eclipses, something the Templars guarded, something interpreted again and again by esoteric astronomers over the centuries. By the end, the listener is fully immersed in a world where the night sky becomes a coded text, and the red eclipse is no longer just an astronomical curiosity, but a powerful symbol whose meaning may reverberate across time. The mystery deepens, the stakes rise, and the story edges closer to unveiling why 2027 has been whispered in obscure manuscripts for generations. As we delve further into the web of Templar prophecy and celestial mysteries, the narrative shifts toward the fascinating interplay between historical events and the unfolding of esoteric knowledge. Here, we explore how hidden knowledge, encoded in ancient manuscripts and safeguarded by secretive orders, has quietly influenced the trajectory of history, guiding, shaping, and occasionally redirecting the course of civilizations. The Templars, more than just a military order, were stewards of forgotten wisdom, and their hidden manuscripts may hold the key to understanding why certain events, including the Red Eclipse of 2027, have been foretold across multiple generations. The idea that history is not simply a sequence of random events, but a structured process governed by cosmic cycles, is a theme deeply embedded in esoteric traditions. For the Templars, as well as other initiates of ancient mysteries, the study of celestial events like eclipses was not just a matter of observation, but one of spiritual significance. These events, they believed, were encoded with divine messages and hidden truths about the nature of the universe and the course of human destiny. Eclipses, in particular, were seen as moments when the veil between the physical and spiritual realms became thinner, when hidden knowledge could be unlocked, and when the divine was revealed through the movements of the stars. It was during the Crusades that the Templars came into contact with ancient and forgotten astronomical knowledge. They interacted with scholars from the Islamic world, who had preserved and expanded upon the sophisticated astronomical techniques of the Greeks, Indians, and Persians. These scholars had mastered the art of predicting celestial events with remarkable precision, and many of the Templars would have learned to interpret these events through a mystical lens. They were not simply concerned with predicting the future. They were deeply invested in understanding the deeper, spiritual significance of these events, especially those that involved eclipses. In the centuries that followed the fall of the Templar Order, many of the documents and manuscripts containing this astronomical knowledge were hidden away, passed down through secret societies, or lost in the labyrinth of history. Yet, the Templars were not the only ones who recognized the significance of celestial events. Across Europe and the Islamic world, other secretive orders and mystical traditions preserved the teachings of the ancients. The Rosicrucians, Freemasons, and later alchemists were all linked by their shared knowledge of sacred geometry, celestial mechanics, and astrology. These groups, much like the Templars, believed that the universe operated on a series of divine cycles, and that certain moments in time, marked by celestial events such as eclipses, held the potential to unlock profound secrets. Some believed that these cycles corresponded to the cycles of human civilization, and that certain events would mark the end of one era and the beginning of another. This cyclical view of history is echoed in the writings of many esoteric thinkers who believed that humanity was on the brink of a great transformation, one that would be catalyzed by the fulfillment of ancient prophecies and the arrival of a new cosmic order. As we approach the Red Eclipse of 2027, it is clear that many esoteric scholars see this event as a pivotal moment in history, a moment that marks the culmination of these long-standing prophecies. The Red Eclipse, which has been carefully documented and analyzed by modern astrologers and esoteric researchers, falls at a unique point in the celestial cycle. It will occur during a rare alignment of the Sun, Moon, and Earth, creating a powerful, blood-red shadow over the Earth. Some interpret this as a harbinger of major change, while others see it as a symbolic moment of spiritual awakening. But why exactly is the Red Eclipse so significant? To understand this, we must return to the ancient prophecies that have been passed down through generations of secret societies in which the Templars were likely aware of. These prophecies speak of a time when the skies would darken, when the veil between the material and spiritual worlds would thin, and when humanity would face a great reckoning, a time when hidden truths would be revealed and lost knowledge would be restored. According to many esoteric traditions, the Red Eclipse is that moment. This is where the connection between the Templars, the Red Eclipse, and the lost knowledge of the ancients becomes clearer. For centuries, the Templars were thought to have hidden knowledge, not only about the Grail or sacred relics, but also about the cosmic cycles that govern the rise and fall of civilizations. It is said that the Templars believed they had uncovered hidden manuscripts, perhaps even older than the Bible, that contained astronomical charts and prophetic calculations pointing to the Red Eclipse. These ancient charts were thought to have been passed down through the ages, carefully preserved by secret societies and initiates, awaiting the day when their significance would be revealed. But the mystery does not end there. As we approach the Red Eclipse of 2027, some researchers believe that the moment of the eclipse will coincide with a shift in human consciousness, a time when the collective understanding of history, spirituality, and the cosmos will undergo a radical transformation. This shift may be the fulfillment of the Templar prophecy, a time when humanity is ready to reclaim its lost wisdom, to reconnect with the spiritual truths hidden in the stars, and to understand the true meaning of the cycles that govern life on Earth. This idea is not new. Throughout history, there have been moments when humanity has undergone profound transformations, whether it was during the Renaissance, the Enlightenment, or the rise of modern science. Each of these periods was marked by a shift in collective consciousness, a change in the way people viewed themselves, their world, and their place in the cosmos. The Red Eclipse, some believe, represents the next stage in this process, a time when humanity will be awakened to the deeper mysteries of existence, when the hidden knowledge of the ancients will be brought to light, and when the Templars' long-held secrets will be revealed to the world. As we approach 2027, there is a palpable sense of anticipation in the air. Esoteric communities are preparing for what they believe will be a moment of great revelation. For some, the Red Eclipse represents the fulfillment of a long-awaited prophecy. For others, it is the beginning of a new era, one in which the mysteries of the past will finally be revealed. Whether or not this event will lead to a dramatic shift in human consciousness is yet to be seen. But one thing is certain. The Red Eclipse will be a moment to remember, a time when the sky will darken and the world will pause to witness the unveiling of hidden truths. In the meantime, the legacy of the Templars continues to haunt our modern world. Their lost knowledge, their hidden manuscripts, and their celestial calculations continue to inspire those who seek the truth behind the mysteries of history. As the Red Eclipse draws near, we are reminded that the Templars' vision of a cosmic order, one that spans centuries and links the rise and fall of civilizations to the movements of the stars, is still very much alive. The question is no longer whether these ancient prophecies hold any truth, but what will be revealed when the skies darken in 2027. The deeper we journey into the labyrinth of the Templar prophecy, the more the focus shifts from medieval manuscripts and celestial calculations to the shadowy pathways through which knowledge survived long after the order itself was destroyed. This section explores a crucial idea, that the Templars' legacy did not vanish with the arrests of 1307 or the execution of Jacques de Molay. Instead, it quietly dispersed, splintering like light refracted through a prism, into families, monastic circles, secret fraternities, and coded traditions that continued to operate beneath the surface of European society. What emerges is a powerful, almost haunting sense that the prophecy tied to the Red Eclipse was never meant to remain frozen in the past. It was meant to be carried forward, preserved, and eventually fulfilled. As Europe entered the Renaissance, esoteric knowledge surged back into the light. Hidden manuscripts resurfaced in private libraries. Scholars, mystics, and explorers began encountering fragments of ancient wisdom in unexpected places: astronomical charts, encoded diagrams, symbolic frescoes, and cryptic engravings. Some of these encoded messages appear strikingly similar to the symbols attributed to the Templars: intersecting circles representing celestial gates, crosses surrounded by lunar phases, diagrams of eclipses rendered in red ink. They appear in Florentine guild halls, in forgotten pages of alchemical treatises, and in the margins of monastic manuscripts that were never meant for public eyes. It is as though the Templar worldview had quietly embedded itself into the cultural DNA of early modern Europe. During this period, scholars began speaking of a grand alignment, a future moment when cosmic cycles would converge in a way not seen for centuries. This idea found its way into early astrological writings, the journals of navigators, and even in the quiet discussions among scholars who gathered in private rooms lit by the warm glow of oil lamps. The belief was that at certain rare moments often marked by eclipses, humanity entered a threshold state, a transitional window where dormant forces reawakened and forgotten truths resurfaced. These windows, it was said, did not simply influence the world, they reshaped it. It is in this fertile intellectual climate that the remnants of Templar knowledge merged with the rising tide of new esoteric traditions. Secret societies like the Rosicrucians and later Masonic lodges began incorporating symbols and ideas that mirrored older Templar cosmology. Across Europe, a quiet consensus formed among those in the know that humanity was moving towards something, a slow-building wave building across centuries, culminating in a moment of revelation that ancient prophecies had pointed toward for generations. This section also explores how the prophecy changed in the hands of later custodians. While the Templars themselves may have focused on the Red Eclipse as a celestial sign connected to their own spiritual mission, later esoteric groups broadened the prophecy. For some, it became a metaphor for spiritual transformation, an inner eclipse representing the shadowing of old paradigms and the emergence of new consciousness. For others, it was interpreted more literally, a sign that hidden truths or suppressed histories would come to light, capable of rewriting the human story. In the 18th and 19th centuries, scholars fascinated by Templar lore began rediscovering fragments of the prophecy in old archives. Antiquarians reported discovering parchments referencing a shadow of iron and a circle of red light, terms uncannily similar to those used in older apocalyptic literature. Occultists in Paris, London, and Berlin discussed the prophecy in whispered tones, recognizing parallels between its symbolism and their own studies of ancient knowledge. Yet, as these discussions intensified, so did efforts to suppress them. Certain texts mysteriously vanished from libraries. Other manuscripts were locked away by private collectors. Inquisitors, even centuries after the Templars' fall, continued to target writings that contained too many dangerous cosmologies. Yet the prophecy endured. By the time Europe entered the age of industrialization, interest in esoteric thought surged once more. Scholars revisiting ancient astronomical cycles noticed something peculiar. The Red Eclipse described in several manuscripts appeared to align closely with a future event in the early 21st century. That realization sent quiet ripples through the esoteric world. Writers began hinting at an unnamed, approaching sign. Secret societies incorporated references to a returning shadow into their rituals, and mystics began speaking of a future threshold where humanity would be confronted with truths long buried beneath the sediment of history. Slowly, through these shifting eras, the prophecy evolved from a medieval secret to a multi-layered network of interconnected interpretations. It adapted as it passed from one group to another, but its core remained unchanged. A belief that a celestial event, specifically a rare blood-red eclipse, would trigger or correspond with a moment of profound historical significance. Whether that moment would be spiritual, political, or metaphysical was a matter of interpretation, but the convergence of knowledge across centuries was unmistakable. As the section deepens, we guide the audience toward an immersive understanding that these transmissions of knowledge were not accidental. They formed a chain, each link created by individuals, monks, scholars, explorers, occultists, who believed they were safeguarding something important. They were not trying to manipulate history. They were preparing for a moment they believed was inevitable. A moment that, according to the cyclical nature of their celestial calculations, pointed unmistakably to 2027. By the end of this section, the listener feels the weight of continuity. The prophecy is no longer a relic of a forgotten order or a medieval curiosity. It has become a living current running through centuries of human thought, a hidden river beneath the surface of history, shaping the dreams and fears of secret societies that believed they were custodians of an approaching revelation. Each generation added new interpretations, refined old ones, and passed the knowledge onward, trusting that the moment would arrive when the meaning of the Red Eclipse would no longer belong to secrecy, but to the world. And as the narrative approaches the next phase, the tension grows. The prophecy is no longer just a distant echo. It is now a shadow moving steadily toward the present, where the skies of 2027 wait to unveil what so many before us believed would be a turning point for humanity. The transition from whispered secrets among secret societies to the realization that the Red Eclipse prophecy is not only ancient, but actively shaping the future is a pivotal moment in this journey. As the narrative continues, we shift from the shadowy corridors of the past to the modern world, where fragmented fragments of ancient knowledge have been reassembled and analyzed. In the early 21st century, the prophecy's weight becomes undeniably tangible. Its significance moves from the realm of mystical speculation into a question that many are now asking. Is the Red Eclipse of 2027 truly the event foretold by generations of hidden keepers of knowledge? This section focuses on the growing movement of modern scholars, astrologers, and researchers who, after studying ancient manuscripts, eclipses, and celestial cycles, have started drawing connections between these long-forgotten prophecies and contemporary geopolitical events. By examining the historical context and astronomical data, they believe that the Red Eclipse is not merely a cosmic event. It is a critical juncture in human history that holds a potential to unlock, or perhaps even catalyze, a new phase of civilization. A moment when ancient knowledge, suppressed and hidden, will finally re-enter the world stage. One of the key elements explored in this section is the return to historical sources that link Templar prophecy to specific astronomical events. A handful of obscure, untranslated texts have recently surfaced in private collections, some of which contain references to the very same Red Eclipse prophecy, with specific references to dates that align with the coming eclipse. These documents contain astrological tables and coded instructions, which researchers believe are part of a larger hidden calendar that spans centuries. Some researchers go as far as to suggest that this calendar was designed to mark the passage of time in cosmic terms, rather than by the usual human measurement of years, giving the prophecy an almost timeless, cyclical quality. The central question now is whether the Templars themselves were aware of the potential for such a specific celestial event to occur in the future, and whether their cryptic references to eclipses were not simply symbolic, but deeply predictive. Several contemporary astrologers and spiritual leaders have embraced the idea that the Red Eclipse is not just an omen, but a threshold moment, where time itself may bend and allow humanity to reconnect with lost knowledge. This idea of a threshold aligns closely with the work of Carl Jung and other thinkers who propose that humanity's collective consciousness moves through cyclical stages. The eclipse, for these researchers, is the opening of a new era, one in which we may see the collective mind of humanity shift, potentially unlocking new capabilities, perspectives, and understandings of our place in the universe. In a modern world, this evolving narrative has also gained traction in online communities, among those who follow alternative history, astrology, and esoteric traditions. Forums, social media pages, and blogs dedicated to the exploration of ancient mysteries have been rife with speculation about the significance of 2027. The widespread interest in this celestial event has led to a resurgence of study around the Templars, their surviving symbols, and the ancient knowledge they were believed to have carried forward. Many of these groups, both mainstream and fringe, are now looking to the future, waiting for the Red Eclipse to unfold and watching closely for the first signs that it might correspond with shifts in global power dynamics, technological advancements, or spiritual revelations. The prophecy's impact on global events also becomes a key point of interest in this section. As political turmoil, environmental crises, and economic shifts continue to unfold across the globe, many esoteric thinkers and researchers argue that the Red Eclipse could act as a signal, a turning point that marks the transition from one world order to another. The geopolitical significance of such a celestial event is not lost on these thinkers, who believe that moments of cosmic upheaval often correspond with moments of human upheaval. It's in these moments, they suggest, that humanity is faced with choices that could shape the future of civilization. In practical terms, the Red Eclipse of 2027 is an event that will take place in a highly specific alignment in the sky, one that has not been seen in centuries. The eclipse will be visible across parts of Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa, and the exact path it will trace on Earth aligns with significant historical locations tied to ancient esoteric traditions. Some researchers point out that certain ancient temples, sites of power, and even Templar strongholds fall within the eclipse's path. This spatial and symbolic alignment only adds to the belief that the Red Eclipse is more than just a random astronomical event. It is a message encoded in the heavens, one that could signal the emergence of hidden knowledge or the resurfacing of long-dormant forces. At the heart of this section is the question, why now? Why is the Red Eclipse of 2027 so significant? Theories abound, with many pointing to the cyclical nature of time that governs not just the physical world, but the spiritual world as well. Throughout history, ancient civilizations have spoken of golden ages and dark ages, of times when humanity fell into ignorance and times when it emerged into enlightenment. The Red Eclipse could, some believe, represent the closing of one such cycle, where humanity's awakening to higher truths, whether in the form of spiritual enlightenment, scientific discovery, or societal reorganization, will finally come to fruition. As the section unfolds, we explore some of the potential shifts this prophecy might trigger. Could the Red Eclipse mark the beginning of a new spiritual awakening for humanity? Many believe so, drawing parallels with past prophetic moments, such as the dawning of the age of Aquarius in astrological traditions or the sudden burst of technological innovation that followed certain historical turning points. Others see the eclipse as a symbolic signal for societal and political upheaval, a reminder that cycles of power and knowledge are always in flux, and that the hidden knowledge of the past is always waiting to re-enter the world at a time of great need. The section ends with an invitation to the audience to consider the deeper implications of the prophecy. While we may not know exactly what a Red Eclipse will bring, it is undeniable that its approach has sparked a global conversation about the nature of hidden knowledge, prophecy, and humanity's place in the cosmic order. In this moment, the line between the past, present, and future seems to blur, and we are left to ponder. Will 2027 be the time when the Templar prophecy is fulfilled? And if so, what truths, long buried beneath the sands of time, will be revealed to the world? The question lingers, casting a shadow over the coming years and setting the stage for the next phase of this enigmatic story. As the prophecy tightens its grip on the narrative and the Red Eclipse of 2027 looms on the horizon, the focus shifts to the silent watchers of history, the modern institutions, hidden networks, and unnamed groups that may already be preparing for what they believe is coming. In this section, the story moves into the realm of contemporary secrecy, classified documents, satellite observations, private research foundations, and strange coincidences that hint at a quiet but deliberate interest in the eclipse by those who operate beyond public view. The audience is guided into the unsettling realization that ancient Templar knowledge may not simply be a forgotten relic, but an active thread running through present-day power structures. The modern world is far from the medieval kingdoms that once trembled before celestial omens, yet the fascination with eclipses has never disappeared. Governments track celestial events with precision instruments. Astronomical agencies observe them with telescopes mounted on mountaintops and in orbit. What makes the Red Eclipse unique is not only its rare alignment, but the unusual attention it has already begun receiving from various scientific and strategic institutions. Subtle signs suggest that certain organizations, some public, some private, may know more about the eclipse's significance than they openly admit. Among these clues are a series of classified reports leaked by anonymous insiders hinting at unusual patterns in electromagnetic fields during previous blood moons. While mainstream scientists dismiss these anomalies as measurement errors or atmospheric distortions, there remains a persistent undercurrent of speculation among alternative researchers. Some believe that the Templars, with their early understanding of celestial mechanics, may have left behind maps or warnings that align with these anomalies, maps that have quietly circulated in restricted circles of influence. There are also rumors surrounding excavation projects in parts of Europe and the Middle East, especially in areas once associated with Templar commanderies. Reports describe increased activity by private archaeological teams, funded by foundations whose identities remain deliberately opaque. These teams seem intensely focused on structures aligned with lunar cycles, ancient underground chambers, forgotten chapels, and stone markers whose shadows fall in precise ways during eclipses. Some of the discovered artifacts, according to whispers among historians, contain inscriptions that reference cycles of red light, veils of shadow, and celestial gates. While mainstream academia keeps its distance from such claims, the timing of these excavations, just months or years before the Red Eclipse, raises questions too significant to ignore. In addition to physical excavations, there is growing attention on digital information. Several online archives specializing in medieval manuscripts have undergone unexplained lockdowns, with certain files being removed or suddenly reclassified. Researchers who had previously accessed them have reported subtle pressure from unnamed academic committees advising them to pause their inquiries. When documents vanish from the public sphere, just as interest in Templar prophecies rises, it creates a vacuum of information that only deepens the mystery. Some speculate that these removals are part of a broader effort to control the narrative before the eclipse arrives. Then there is the unsettling pattern of unusual experiments conducted by private aerospace companies. While officially described as atmospheric studies or satellite recalibrations, some alternative analysts believe these missions are timed to anticipate or observe energy fluctuations predicted to occur during the Red Eclipse. These missions, often launched under the guise of unrelated scientific research, are rarely publicized. But when their schedules align with known celestial cycles, it becomes difficult not to wonder whether someone is preparing for a phenomenon that reaches far beyond simple astronomy. A particularly intriguing thread in this section involves individuals, scientists, researchers, or historians, who have mysteriously withdrawn from public life. Some were known to have been studying medieval astronomical documents. Others were analyzing the symbolism of Templar architecture. Their sudden disappearances, resignations, or retreats into private circles have fueled speculation that they may have uncovered something that challenged the boundaries of accepted historical narratives. Whether they were silenced, protected, or simply overwhelmed by the implications of their discoveries remains unknown. Parallel to these darker threads is the rise of grassroots interest. Independent researchers, online communities, and amateur astronomers have begun sharing findings that align eerily with the Templar prophecy. Patterns in lunar cycles, symbolic correlations in old maps, and the rediscovery of manuscripts once dismissed as myth are all converging toward a single date. The democratization of information through the internet has made it harder for any institution, academic, governmental, or otherwise, to maintain total control over the unfolding narrative. Yet despite the explosion of public interest, certain high-level movements remain hidden. Intelligence agencies in multiple countries have quietly commissioned reports on the geopolitical implications of celestial-triggered mass movements. While the official language is clinical, the timing and classification of these documents suggest they were prompted not by scientific necessity, but by the growing awareness that the Red Eclipse may influence public perception in ways that transcend conventional understanding. Eclipses have historically been catalysts for religious fervor, political revolutions, and cultural upheavals. If the 2027 event truly aligns with ancient prophecies, then its psychological impact alone could be profound. And so, this section builds a sense of modern unease. The prophecy is no longer confined to medieval lore or esoteric societies. It has entered boardrooms, research labs, underground vaults, and intelligence briefings. The audience begins to realize that the past and present are converging, creating a feedback loop where history, prophecy, and modern secrecy intertwine. Something is being prepared for. Something is being anticipated. Whether it is being feared or embraced depends on who holds the knowledge and who believes the prophecy. By the end of this section, the viewer is left with the chilling sense that powerful groups across the world are quietly bracing for the Red Eclipse, each with their own interpretation of what it means. The Templar prophecy, once a forgotten whisper, has resurfaced in the modern age, not as a relic, but as a living force influencing decisions, movements, and preparations behind closed doors. The stage is now set for the coming culmination, where the shadows of the past finally collide with the light of the present. As the Red Eclipse of 2027 draws nearer, the anticipation reaches a fever pitch, with the world poised at the edge of a precipice. In this section, we delve deep into the possible outcomes of the event itself, the culmination of centuries of hidden prophecies, esoteric knowledge, and ancient celestial alignments. The stage has been set, and the mystery surrounding the Templar prophecy reaches its crescendo. Will this moment be the long-awaited fulfillment of a prophecy, the return of lost knowledge, or a shift in human consciousness? Or, as some suggest, will the eclipse herald something more profound, something beyond the physical realm, a cosmic event whose meaning is still unfathomable? The first part of this section tackles the most pressing question: what exactly will happen during the Red Eclipse? While the scientific community has already mapped out the event, predicting its visibility across parts of Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East, the esoteric world holds a different perspective. For them, this is not just a cosmic occurrence, it is a cosmic moment. The eclipse, which will bathe the earth in a red hue as the sun's light is obscured, is seen as a manifestation of a much larger cosmic transition. The Templars, whose symbols and writings have been central to the mythology of this prophecy, left behind intricate references to a time when the sun itself would be veiled in blood. Could this be the moment they spoke of, when the heavens and the earth would align in a manner not seen for centuries? To explore this, we look to the concept of celestial portals and alignments, which have been present in esoteric teachings for centuries. These are believed to be rare moments in time when the energies of the cosmos converge, creating opportunities for great spiritual and societal transformation. For some, the Red Eclipse of 2027 represents just such a moment, a point where hidden forces, both cosmic and human, align. In these teachings, eclipses are seen not merely as astronomical events, but as metaphysical gateways, thresholds between worlds, times, and even dimensions. The prophecy, with its red-tinged skies, has long been associated with the shedding of old knowledge and the birth of something new. The red color of the eclipse is often seen as symbolic of rebirth, of a spiritual cleansing or awakening. It is a color that invokes both bloodshed and life, signifying a moment of transition from one age to the next. The Templars themselves believe that certain celestial events held the power to break the chains of time, releasing ancient knowledge and forcing humanity to confront suppressed truths. As the eclipse approaches, many begin to wonder whether this is the moment when humanity will collectively unlock the knowledge held by the Templars, an esoteric wisdom that has been hidden for centuries. This section also explores the idea that the Red Eclipse may not just be a symbolic or spiritual event, but could have profound physical effects. Some researchers suggest that the eclipse could trigger electromagnetic shifts or atmospheric disturbances, drawing on ancient texts and modern theories about how celestial events influence the Earth. These phenomena could potentially disrupt communications, technology, or even the natural order, creating a sense of upheaval or chaos. The Templars, known for their expertise in both spiritual and practical matters, may have known that these celestial events had the power to stir the very fabric of existence. A key theme in this section is the role of collective consciousness. The idea that humanity's collective awareness, its thoughts and emotions, could influence or be influenced by celestial events is an ancient one. Throughout history, eclipses have been seen as moments when the veil between the conscious and unconscious mind grows thin. People have experienced profound psychological shifts during these events. Visions, dreams, and a sense of connection to the divine. Could the Red Eclipse trigger a mass awakening, a moment when humanity, united by the same celestial event, begins to perceive the world in a completely different light? In some esoteric traditions, the eclipse is seen as an opportunity for individuals to transcend ordinary perception, gaining access to a deeper, more universal understanding of reality. This section also highlights the intriguing idea that the Red Eclipse could serve as a kind of spiritual reset. In many mystical traditions, such moments of cosmic realignment are seen as a chance to break free from the constraints of the past, to cleanse the soul and start anew. For the Templars, this could have been the ultimate goal of their mysterious rites, to prepare humanity for a new beginning, one where the wisdom of the ancients would finally be made available to the masses. The prophecy itself, though cryptic, seems to point to a moment of illumination, a time when the veil of secrecy will be lifted and humanity will be forced to confront truths that have been hidden for millennia. But perhaps the most fascinating question posed by this section is whether the Red Eclipse will reveal something more than just ancient knowledge. It could reveal the nature of our reality itself. Some theorists suggest that the Templars, through their mastery of sacred geometry, astronomical knowledge, and alchemical teachings, understood that the universe operates on a set of hidden laws. The eclipse, for them, may have been a key to unlocking the true nature of these laws, an event that would force humanity to confront the illusion of time, space, and even consciousness itself. The Red Eclipse, in this sense, could be the final key that opens the door to a new paradigm, one that transcends the limitations of our current understanding. As we move deeper into the possibilities of what the Red Eclipse could bring, we also explore the notion of divine intervention. Many prophecies, from the Bible to ancient Sumerian texts, speak of a time when the heavens will intervene in human affairs, when a celestial event will mark the end of one cycle and the beginning of another. For some, the Red Eclipse is seen as a divine moment, a time when the hidden forces that have guided humanity throughout history will reveal themselves. This divine aspect of the prophecy, often tied to ideas of cosmic justice or revelation, adds an additional layer of mystery and intrigue. But it is not only the religious or spiritual interpretations of the eclipse that are intriguing. The Red Eclipse could also have profound geopolitical consequences. As tensions rise across the world, with the rise of new powers, climate crises, and shifting alliances, the eclipse could serve as a symbolic marker for a massive global shift. Some believe that the eclipse could signal the end of an old world order, creating a space for a new one to emerge. In this context, the prophecy is not just about personal awakening or spiritual growth, but about societal transformation on a global scale. In the final analysis, this section leaves us with an overwhelming sense of anticipation. The Red Eclipse is more than a moment in time. It is the culmination of centuries of hidden knowledge, prophetic wisdom, and celestial alignments. As we approach 2027, the world finds itself at a crossroads. Whether this will be a moment of illumination or disruption, of awakening or chaos, is still unknown. The prophecy's mystery deepens as the eclipse draws closer, And the question remains, when the red light fades, will humanity be forever changed? Will we unlock the ancient secrets that have been buried for centuries? Or will the prophecy reveal something even more unimaginable than we ever anticipated? Whatever happens, it is clear that the Red Eclipse of 2027 will be a moment of profound consequence, one that will reverberate through history and change the way we understand the world. As we reach the final chapter of this journey, we reflect on the profound implications of the Red Eclipse prophecy, its connections to the Templars, and the strange, often unsettling course of history that has led us to this moment. The events we've explored, from the whispers of forgotten knowledge to the modern-day race to understand and decode ancient texts, have all been leading up to this, 2027. But as the eclipse nears, the ultimate question remains, what will it reveal? Will the world witness the fulfillment of a long-buried prophecy, or will the moment pass, leaving us to wonder whether the answers we seek were ever meant to be found? In this final section, we tie together the threads that have run through the entire narrative: ancient prophecies, Templar secrets, celestial phenomena, and the mysterious forces that have seemingly guided humanity to this point. We turn our attention to the deeper meanings embedded in the Red Eclipse, exploring the potential outcomes from a more philosophical and existential perspective. Could the true purpose of the eclipse not be simply to reveal hidden knowledge, but to challenge humanity's understanding of its place in the universe, its relationship with the divine, and its potential for transformation? One of the central ideas we explore here is the concept of time itself. Throughout history, there have been moments of profound change, times when entire civilizations pivoted on the edge of a single event. The Red Eclipse could very well be one such moment. It may not be about the rediscovery of ancient knowledge or the return of the Templar Order, but about the transformation of human consciousness. Many esoteric traditions speak of cosmic cycles, periods of history that repeat, but with each cycle offering humanity a chance to transcend its past mistakes. The eclipse, in this context, becomes not just a celestial event, but a spiritual and psychological one, a gateway through which humanity might pass into a new era, one marked by greater awareness, unity, and understanding. This section also explores the concept of prophecy itself. The Templar prophecy, like many ancient prophecies, was never meant to be a set of rigid predictions, but rather a guide to understanding the patterns of time, the rise and fall of civilizations, and the cyclical nature of human history. Prophecies are not simply about predicting the future. They are about shaping it, providing humanity with the knowledge it needs to make critical choices at pivotal moments. The Red Eclipse is, therefore, not just an event to be observed, but a choice to be made. How we respond to this moment, how we interpret the signs and symbols, will determine what comes next. Could this be the moment when humanity finally awakens from its slumber and realizes that the world it has built is not the only world that exists? Could the eclipse represent the end of an era of ignorance, materialism, and division? As the ancient knowledge of the Templars and other secret societies resurfaces, will humanity be ready to embrace the lessons of the past and chart a new path forward, one that honors the mysteries of the universe and the divine forces that govern it? As the year 2027 approaches, the world stands at the precipice of something unknown, yet deeply familiar. The Red Eclipse is not just an event in the sky. It is a mirror reflecting our deepest fears and desires, our unspoken hopes and long-held dreams. It beckons us to look beyond the material world and contemplate our place in the grand cosmic design. Whether the eclipse triggers the dawning of a new age or simply marks the end of an old one, its impact will be profound. It will challenge us to confront our own assumptions, to question the systems of power that have shaped our world, and to rethink the very nature of existence itself. As the section unfolds, we begin to consider the possibility that that the true meaning of the red eclipse lies not in the revelation of secret knowledge, but in the transformation of the collective consciousness. This shift could be subtle, an awakening that takes place over years or even generations, or it could be sudden and dramatic, a single moment of epiphany that changes the course of history forever. For those who are attuned to the signs, the eclipse may represent the arrival of a new way of seeing the world, a time when humanity begins to align itself more closely with the rhythms of the cosmos, recognizing that we are part of a much larger, interconnected system. Some believe that this awakening could lead to a global spiritual renaissance, where people from all walks of life begin to understand the true meaning of sacred knowledge, not just as a spiritual pursuit, but as a tool for personal and societal transformation. The mysteries of the Templars, the Grail legends, and the ancient wisdom passed down through generations could become more than mere symbols of a distant past. They could become blueprints for the future, providing the keys to a new, more harmonious way of living on Earth. The red eclipse, in this sense, becomes a metaphor for the dawn of a new era, an era in which humanity can finally break free from the chains of its past and enter a future of enlightenment, unity, and understanding. But this is not a future without struggle. The forces of darkness, ignorance, and division will fight to maintain their hold on the world. The final battle between light and shadow may unfold not in the heavens above, but in the hearts and minds of those who are ready to embrace the truth. As we conclude, we are left with a sense of mystery and wonder. The red eclipse may not be the end of the world, but it could be the beginning of something far greater, a new chapter in the story of humanity, one in which we finally awaken to the potential of our shared existence. The ancient Templar prophecy, with its cryptic clues and hidden messages, may not be about a single event, but about a continuous unfolding of knowledge, wisdom, and spiritual growth. The eclipse may mark a moment in time, but its true significance lies in what we make of it. In the end, the red eclipse serves as a reminder that history is not a linear path, but a series of cycles, some seen, some hidden, each offering humanity an opportunity to rise above its limitations. As we approach this pivotal moment, we are left with a question. Will we be ready to embrace the change? Will we choose to see the eclipse not as an omen of doom, but as a sign of our collective potential? As the shadows lengthen and the red light of the eclipse fills the sky, we are reminded that the greatest mystery may not lie in what is revealed, but in how we choose to respond. The prophecy and its mysteries will remain with us, waiting to unfold in ways we can only begin to imagine.